Understand something. Plain and simple. To me, Abigail was a delicious poison. An intoxicating, overwhelming poison. Yowie, yowie, yowie. That felt good.
What's up, everybody? How are we doing this afternoon? Let me make sure I got my cameras right there. Make sure all my audio stuff has been acting a little crazy today, but I think we're here, right?
I'm here.
I know my sound is being a little stupid, but whatever. I'm trying. So we're here. We're ready for another episode of Abby's Window. First, though, gotta ask this. I know we've been away for a little bit. A lot of people have been asking how you are doing. So, Jodie, I want to give you a moment to talk about how you're doing before we get started.
I'm doing okay. One day at a time.
That's all we can do. So, glad to have you back. And we got a great weekend of wrestling.
Yep.
Sounds like we're going to get some interesting stuff tonight. So I'm really excited for that. And we will get into all of that. But first, let me shout out some folks in the chat. We've got Annette Morris, Melinda Ford, Kevin Correa, James Grant, James Chadwick, Robert Morris, Cheese Whiz 2, Jen Carter, Kevin Hefferner, Robert Morris. Let's see here. Big Dan. What's up, Big Dan? The Will Jacks Effect. Harry. I'm not even going to butcher your last name, Harry. Ed Backlund. Let's see here. Who else we got? Alexa Bliss Gamer 0809. Thank you, Alexa. I appreciate that. Dalton Riley, EJ Movement. Moda, what's up? We got a Moda alert. Simple Kind of Man, what's up? Janelle Jackson. Shelby Jones. Jason Peace, Seven Fiend. Sean Rousset. Wow, we got a good crowd. My devices are still going off, so who knows. Thank you back there, assistant. So Jodie, let's talk a little bit about what we got last night with Miss Bliss. Wrestling, what's up? JP Blaston, Christopher LaVenture, what's up? So let's talk about what we got last night. Sean Suslowitz. Let's talk about that. So obviously, we got the spot where Miss Bliss just sat there very. She was very peculiar in her perch up on the up on the ring rope. So, talk to me a little bit about what you thought about just that entrance and her just sitting there for a while.
It was definitely a little creepy. I think we actually said at one point during the watch along, like, she hasn't moved. Even the announcer said, like, I don't think she's blinked for 10 minutes. Like, she just stood there like a statue. And, I think we got little hints of her character with her, like, possessing Zelina Vega and having her climb down the ladder. And I was actually talking to See Wrestling about it earlier on the phone. And, he brought up a good point. I think WWE didn't quite know how the fan reaction was going to be. So I think they did little parts of her character to see what the fan reaction would be. They did the possession thing, the skipping around the ring, her trying to use her powers to pull the briefcase down. And I think the reason why they had her buried under the ladders was in case it didn't go over well. I think that was kind of the plan. Like, we'll give the crowd teases of, her character, see how it goes over, see if the fans like it or not, and just kind of go from there. I said it would have been nice to have a backup, like, hey, if it's going well, the fans are reacting, they're cheering, maybe disappear from underneath the ladders and pop up somewhere else, which I know is difficult to do with fans, obviously, but I think it went over pretty well with the fans. I think Liv Morgan went over a little bit better. I think she was a little bit more popular. Obviously, the fans weren't super happy about the ladder thing. So I think that was a good indication that, the fans are, at least the fans in attendance, are pretty behind this character for her. So
absolutely,
props to See Wrestling for picking that one up.
Absolutely. Shout out C. Yeah, I thought it was interesting that we didn't get very much of an appreciation for when she was trying to make the briefcase sway and all of that stuff. So,
I think it would have been cool if maybe they started to lower it. You know what I mean? Because her looking up and like trying to like pull it down with her powers, that was the only part of it that you saw. I think it would have been pretty cool if they just lowered it a couple of inches and we saw that, it was working. I thought that would have been a pretty neat way to go.
No, I wholeheartedly agree with that. It would have been really, really good to to get some of that. Let me okay, I just want to make sure I got that good. Okay, so obviously they I hate to even use this term. They buried her. Yeah,
Literally.
literally buried her. What
Yeah.
do you think that said about how they're booking this character in the future and how the other storyline wise, how the other superstars see this character?
I think that was a tribute to the other superstars don't really know how to keep her down, especially with, the thing with the Zelina Vega happening, her trying to lower the briefcase. I think they don't know how to stop her other than literally burying her. I think is it possible that that's an Easter egg that maybe at some point she could have a buried alive match with somebody? Maybe.
That'd be good.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. So,
Okay. Well, obviously, someone that she has history with ended up winning that match. So, congratulations to Nikki, almost a superhero. Um, I was happy that she won. Do you think we're going to get anything between those two?
I think maybe down the road, her winning the briefcase certainly not puts a damper on it, but takes priority in terms of what she's going to do with it and who she's going to cash it in on, and if she's going to be successful. Is she going to do it quickly? Is she going to bide her time? I like what Alexa Bliss Gamer said, it being a tribute to Hell in a Cell, where Seth buried the Fiend in weapons. I get that too. Yeah, that's a good, definitely a good point. So I don't know. I think it's possible they could have another run in at some point. Didn't somebody else say on an interview that they wanted a match with? I think was it Rhea Ripley or somebody said they wanted to have a match with Alexa Bliss.
I know Rhea Ripley mentioned it. I also know, I think that Charlotte mentioned it at one point.
Yeah.
Well.
So I don't know. Like we've said with Bray's character with the Fiend, I don't think that kind of character lends itself well to championship matches and belts. So I don't really see that in her future at the moment. Because then, the hunter becomes the hunted, and
Sorry.
So I don't really see a big championship run in her near future, maybe somewhere down the line.
Gotcha. I got you.
Unless they're going to keep it on her for a decent amount of time, because you have to, if you're going to put the belt on her, kind of like they did with the Fiend, you've got to make him seem unstoppable.
Yeah.
And, so.
Well, speaking of, let's talk about him. Let's talk about.
Always happy to do that.
I know. So let's talk about him. Anything the man does at this point is always newsworthy, right? I mean, even if it's just 7 words, as we see in this tweet here. So, we get a message out there, and we'll get to the other part of this, saying, "We miss you, Bray, forever and always. You are our leader." To which he replies, "I miss you guys too. Believe me." So simple, but definitely poignant, I believe. So I want to talk to you about it. And I know Harry had a question about when and how do we think Bray returns. We'll get there. But first, I want to get your take on that tweet. What do you pull from that?
It actually made me go back and watch the video chat that I had with him. Because he kind of said something similar then, that, you know, the fans are such a big part of what they do, and, you know, we're just as important to them as they are to us, and it's this beautiful love-hate relationship between the WWE universe and the superstars. So I think that, you know, whatever the reason is that he's not been on TV, there's lots of speculation out there. We don't really know what's true, what's not true. I take everything with a grain of salt unless it comes from the source or someone very close to the source. So, you know, it's definitely a testament that I think he was just being authentic at that point. I know he's pretty kayfabe on Twitter when it comes to that, but I don't know. I think he just needed to, he knew instinctively, because that man is very intuitive, that we needed to hear that from him, that he misses us just as much as we miss him.
Yeah. I mean, goodness gracious. We miss him a lot. Any kind of inkling of anything from him, and it drives the fan base into a frenzy, because that's just what he does. He moves the needle. So since Harry asked this, and we've had a couple people in the chat say it, how do you think Bray returns in terms of what iteration of his character do you think we're going to get, and when do you think that happens?
I don't even know anymore. I mean, we used to be on this road of every single week we're, you know, watching Raw with bated breath and keep being disappointed. And you have to think at this point, who on Raw does he have to feud with that we think would make sense to his storyline? So if he wants to continue on this revenge plot, and, you know, who is left on Raw that he could feud with? And I don't really feel like right now there is anybody. You know, Randy's been gone for a little while, and he really doesn't have much history with anybody else other than maybe Jeff Hardy. And he's been gone for a little while. We haven't seen him. So really, you know, when we were talking about whether or not he was going to come back last night, I just thought, come back for who? For what?
Right.
Unless it was literally just to cause chaos. With Cena being on Raw tonight, it definitely makes you think, because last time we saw Cena was, you know, on a mat with the Fiend on top of him. So, you know, it definitely makes you wonder, you know, but if Cena's going after Roman, why is he on Raw in the first place? We haven't heard Cena speak. So, I don't know if he's going to be any different. I don't think he will be. Yes, if Goldberg returns on Raw, there's another reason for him to show up. So I think up until, you know, more recent events, there really wasn't anybody for him to feud with that would fit into that storyline. You know, you've got, if Brock comes back, there's another one. There's a lot of like steps that need to be taken before you introduce a new feud for him. Unless he just wants to come back and cause chaos. And I think WWE knows that whenever he does come back, or whenever he's on TV, it overshadows everything. So if they want the focus on something else, they're going to probably keep him off TV, because whatever he does is going to break the internet. Whenever he's on TV, it breaks the internet. It's the highest amount of views that they get on YouTube is whenever he's on television. So, you know, if the plan with Cena being on there tonight, you know, there's a possibility of Becky Lynch showing up, and him showing up as well would overshadow all of that. Goldberg comes back, you know, while I get they want to keep the momentum going, I just don't think they're going to do it tonight.
Gotcha. I think with everything they have planned, it makes more sense to maybe bring them back next week as opposed to this week, because The other thing that you don't want to have is you don't want to have all these other big things. And since Bray hasn't been around for a while, they kind of do the opposite. And it's just a footnote. Like, okay, Becky, let's say Becky comes at the end of the show. John Cena's starting off the show, and you plop Bray in the middle somewhere. That's not really fair to any of those three. So,
Right.
yeah, I agree with what you said there.
And they want to keep momentum going. So if they do everything tonight, where are they going to go?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you've got Cena on there tonight, maybe Becky coming back. You know, and if you put Bray in that too, what are you going to do next week? You've got to, now that you've got fans back, you've got to maintain that momentum. So I think they're just not necessarily being patient, because we're not patient, but they're biding their time. And hopefully that means that they have something really big planned for him when he does come back.
Yeah. I got to shout this out to C Wrestling. He did a video where he was essentially talking about the Twitter spat between Bray and Bobby Lashley.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the question is for you, and I'm going to pose this question to the chat. Is that a feud that you'd want to see? And do you want to see it now, given that Lashley has the title? And I know how people feel about the Fiend being in the title picture, so I'll just pose those questions.
Of course, we'd love to see Bray with the belt. Who doesn't want to see Bray with the belt? It's been a long time since he's had that belt. I'd love to see him in a feud with Lashley, but not for the belt. I just don't, unless they're going to do it right, which I don't have much hope for when it comes to WWE Creative, unless they're going to do it right and actually let him hold on to it for a decent amount of time, then don't do it. Like, right. I know every superstar, that's part of the dream. You want to have the belt, you want to win championships, but I think the Goldberg thing did a lot of damage, not in terms of like Bray being buried or anything silly like that, but it did a lot of damage in terms of making him feel indestructible. And the way they did it, I think they could have done it way better in, letting him just lay the belt down and walk away. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's why so many people had such a problem with that match. You build the Fiend up to be this indestructible character, and then he loses to someone who shouldn't be wrestling anymore, who can't even pick him up for a jackhammer. And it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way because of the way it was done. Yeah. And I think at this point, you can feel when Bray's in it, when his ideas are in it, and when they're not. And that was something that I don't feel like he had no choice. He just had to do it. So I would love to see him in a thing with Lashley. I would really love to see the Demon versus the Fiend at SummerSlam.
Oh, God.
Talk about that being full circle. The first time we saw the Fiend, the first match was against Finn Balor at SummerSlam. Finn was wearing white. Mm-hmm. So everybody wants to see the Fiend versus the Demon at SummerSlam.
Finn was a sacrifice at that event. I'm going to shout out this comment real quick. Moda says lots of history in Dallas with the Fiend. That's where we saw the cinematic Ultimate Deletion match. So you never know. I think that's. I
thought that was at Matt Hardy's house.
Yeah, but I think the pay-per-view or whatever.
Oh, I was like, wrong.
It was I believe it was in Dallas.
No, it was the Wyatt compound. No, it was at Matt Hardy's house.
Yeah, Bliss fans says something, and I want to talk about that real quick too, because this is something that I think I mentioned to you guys. I forget what night it was. Maybe it was last night. Do you think it would be, and I know some people say, hey, kind of Tribal Empire just said too soon for Demon versus Finn. Neither can lose their first feud back. That's a great point. That's a fair point. However, do you think the Fiend at this point would be more suited to Raw or SmackDown? And chat, feel free to answer any of these questions.
Given Bray's history with people, most of the people that he needs to get revenge on are on SmackDown. Like Roman. And, well, Roman being the big one. And Finn Balor, if he wants to do that again. I still have a feeling the feud with Randy isn't quite done. I still think it's unfinished. I don't know. I worry. I don't worry, but I think with him being on SmackDown and Roman being on SmackDown, I think he might get a little lost because there's so many big names on SmackDown.
Yeah.
I would prefer to leave him on Raw and let him be the star of Raw, like Roman is the star of SmackDown.
Yeah. I think that's a fair point. I think a lot of people here are agreeing with you, saying Raw would be a good, the best place. C Wrestling says that depends. If they don't plan to use Demon Balor, is there harm in having the Demon lose? That is
they're different people,
different entities,
different characters.
Yep, great point there. Let's see here. I want to get what you think about this. Bliss fan says Miss Bliss will come out and bring Fiend back and tell Cena that he better beat Roman or else.
I hate to say it, but I think they're kind of done with each other. He made that very clear that he was moving on. That was the last time that we saw Bray. He said that we're getting new friends, time to start over, time to rebuild. He said he felt reborn. He said no more clout chasing in the simulation, which I had an epiphany about that, about Roman being the clout chaser and WWE being the simulation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a possibility he gets revenge on her. C Wrestling also did a really cool theory video too about the possibility of Alexa being his daughter, and the reaction at WrestleMania wasn't him turning on her and him being surprised. It was him seeing his offspring, and he brought the frog into it, the friendship frog. Why pick a frog to be a spawn? So, and I thought that was a great theory. He actually called me before he uploaded it, and I was like, well, there's lots of great theories out there.
Yeah.
And I just don't know. Like, I'm sure there's 1,000 ideas spinning around in Bray's head, and I think creative just doesn't quite know what to do with him. And I think they should just let him do what he wants to do.
Yeah. That you know what? Going back to Cena, we just got a tweet that was that we were tagged in from Jason Peace. Shout out Jason Peace. But he's got the NWO Cena, for those of you that remember the Firefly Funhouse match. And you probably won't be able to see it well, but that's Cena doing the 2-sweet with the NWO, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is Cena last night.
Mm-hmm.
You literally can't see him in this camera shot right now, but he's also holding up the 2-sweet sign there.
I mean, Cena looked the same, but we haven't heard him talk yet.
Now,
this is another shout out to C Wrestling too. We talk too much. We talk on the phone way too much, and I love it. but we haven't heard him talk yet. What if he comes out tonight and pretty much not cusses the fans out, but like he looks the same, but he's not the same.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I know after everything went off the air, he addressed the fans. I don't know if that was just John Cena, the ambassador for WWE, speaking to all the fans, or if he's still staying in that character. I found it very interesting that he came out when Roman was speaking and didn't say a word.
Mm-hmm.
He did his usual little hit the ropes. I'm going to take my shirt off. Well, he didn't take the shirt off until he got up the ramp later on, but I'm going to take my stuff off and, and do my normal John Cena thing. So yeah. Hopefully, Jesse, you're talking about this one. She says we never know which show will have more of the Fiend's enemies after the draft, though.
Mm-hmm. That's very true. There's a lot of talk about Jeff Hardy coming back and bringing back no
more words.
No more words, which would be really cool. I would dig that.
Timbo says, "What if Bray brought back a John Cena that's not the real one?
Brought back a John Cena, not the John Cena."
Yeah.
Yeah, and you do have to ask the question, if he showed up to interrupt Roman Reigns last night, why is he on Raw? Wouldn't he appear on SmackDown? Why is he appearing on Raw? Makes you think.
Yeah, makes you think. Jesse, can you resend me that message then, because I can't get to it right now. EJ Movement says, what if we do get Fiend versus Hardy for Slammiversary?
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
At this point, we just want to see the Fiend and Bray back on television.
That's all we're asking. We're not asking very much.
I know he's considered a free agent, Big Dan, but he showed up last night to interrupt Roman. So why is he coming on Raw? I'm not saying it's because he's not a free agent. He can go to whatever. Why would he pick Raw to show up on if the whole purpose was to go after Roman?
Sorry, SummerSlam. Guys, I'm working off of like hardly any sleep.
Okay? Me too.
Jeez. Like you don't misspeak. That's what EJ Movement just said. This weekend has been pretty crazy. I don't blame Jeff at all. Thank you. Thank you. Deanna saying ratings for Raw. I think that's a fair point too.
Mm-hmm. But again, you have to ask yourself, why bring him out against Roman then?
Yeah,
it just makes you think. Like, if he wants to go after Roman, why are they making him show up on Monday Night Raw? Are they going to make him show up on both shows? Like, I don't know. And if Goldberg is supposed to come back tonight, what's going to happen with that? Like, other than us vomiting all over our screens.
Yeah. Well, speaking of vomit, before we get to the vomit-inducing reveal that we got last week, let's go to Harry's question here first, and then we'll go to that. What if we get Roman versus Cena at SummerSlam? Don't you think the Fiend will appear in the ring and attack them? Because he replied when WWE advertised SummerSlam with the eye emoji.
You never know with Bray. That could have been him taking a stab. If this whole thing is because of creative and writing, that he hasn't been on TV, if it's their issue, that could have you could easily see that as a stab at them. Like, I'm still here. You know what I mean? Like, it's in Vegas and it's, like, I'm still here. Like, I'm just waiting. So you could take that any number of ways.
True. True. Deanna's saying she would be down for him attacking Cena and Roman.
Roman's gonna get what's coming to him at some point, but I think it's going to be when he no longer has a belt.
Yes. I like that. I like that thought. Okay. Something that that we got a little bit of news about last week. A little over a year ago, or right at a year ago, we were hearing this talk about this cult of Windham. Like we just kept hearing these things about a cult of Windham, and everyone was trying to figure out what it was. Was it, was it a new faction? Was it something crazy? I mean, just what was it? There was so much mystery and intrigue surrounding this cult of Windham. Well, we got a tweet from, I believe, our friend Jesse Cage.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw this drawing that was done by the talented Mr. Kyle Scarborough. And yeah, we kind of found out that this was going to be a podcast, essentially, correct?
I don't know if that's what I don't know if he said podcast specifically, but it was meant to be him and Bray, which is obviously why you have the merging of their two heads together, which is awesome. I loved it. Yeah. So it was kind of like their brainchild, I guess. And that was another time that Bray broke the internet. I think some people would have missed it, but he actually replied and he said, "Never say never."
Mm. Yeah. I mean, seeing this artwork though, I think I was equal parts like OMG moment and equal parts angry. Because it's like we so wanted, I think we all kind of anticipated that it would be something that would allow Bray to kind of speak freely, and share more of his story.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we kind of figured that was a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so bummed because I just want to hear the guy talk. Like I mean, just talk. Even if you read the dictionary, I just want to hear him talk because I love hearing him talk. Mm-hmm. So I mean, are you bummed? I mean, I know the answer to this, but are you bummed that we didn't get this?
Yeah, because I've said that all along. Like Bray is so much into maintaining kayfabe and staying in character, which is why we typically don't see him on, Stone Cold's show or on episodes of, Ride Along and things like that. Like, would I love to see him on all of that stuff? Yes, but I get it. And I think calling it the Cult of Windham, to allow him to be on a show where he's just Windham and not Bray. Right. And that he can be just himself and who he is. I think the fans they would have gone crazy for it. And I miss hearing him talk too.
Yeah.
Which is why we love the Funhouse episodes. Like, we equally love the Fiend too, but we like to see his beautiful face and hear his beautiful voice.
Yes. I will even agree with that. I'll just say, I'll say he's a handsome man. Joe is in the building. What's up, Joe? And he is reminding everyone, yes. We will have a Raw watch along tonight, beginning at 7:30. So we're gonna take a little bit of a break. Maybe a food break, maybe another kind of break.
Jodie has to drive home break.
Jodie has to drive home break, or who knows? We'll just leave it at that. And then we'll be back at 7:30. Come back and join us. We know that there's a lot of ball games in town, but we would be thrilled to have you back with us and have some fun, because it should be a heck of a night for Raw. I mean, we know that they have to step it up a little bit. So I think I just think that we might get something really good this evening. So
I
um,
will be a little bit delayed making it to the Raw stream because I have to go through some training with some new people that are starting tonight, and then I have to drive home. So,
well, listen, you be
but I'll
safe.
be there.
You be safe.
I will.
Careful. Um, yeah, we need you here. So um, yeah, I'm just bummed that we didn't get the the cult of Wyndham
Well,
stuff.
according to what Bray said, he said never say never. So, if
Yeah.
Bray has ways of making things happen, so you know,
Robert Morris says, "What if the Fiend goes after Riddle?"
be okay with that. Like I said, I'd be okay with him going after anybody at this point. Go after green shirt guy if you want.
Have you seen any of the Fear Street movies?
No, I haven't had time to watch.
I know.
Look, my favorite show is on TV right now, and it's only on in the summer, and I haven't watched a single dang episode.
What is it? What
Big Brother.
Big Brother, that is
It's
right.
my guilty pleasure, and I haven't watched a single episode because I just haven't had time.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, this anyone that's seen the Fear Street movies, that this comment by Big Dan is hilarious, saying the dream match, Sarah Fear from Fear Street versus Sister Abigail. Yeah, that would have been cool. Oh man. So Bruno saying, I just want him back no matter the opponent. I think that's all of us at this point. But we got to ask this question too. I'm seeing it come up a lot in the chat. We've been missing Randy Orton. He's been MIA for a few weeks now.
Mm-hmm.
Any chance, any possibility that maybe the Fiend or Bray Wyatt was behind any of that?
I'd love to say yes. I don't know. I'd like to think so. I'd like to morph that story into existence, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I hope that they give us some type of at least finale.
I'd like to see a puppet in the background somewhere tonight. I think slow build it. If this rumor is that he's returning to Raw on August the 9th, then slow build it until then. Have a puppet pop up somewhere. Or, I don't know. Just start having puppets appear randomly behind people, different people, so that you're like, what? Are they going after that person? No. Well, now they're behind that person. I would just start messing with people's heads.
Messing with people.
Yeah. How long has it been since we've had Puppet Watch? Come on. See Wrestling really needs to irritate his neighbors by screaming Puppet Watch. So we need a Puppet Watch.
And I want it to be so loud that I can hear it.
Right?
I want to hear Puppet Watch just ring out across the Atlantic, and I want to hear it. So, and I feel like whenever we see Bray, that we might actually get that. We might hear this faint sound outside, and people are like, "What's that?" Oh, let's just see wrestling yelling Puppet Watch. That's all it is. That's all it is. Puppet Watch. It's like the bat signal for Bray Wyatt fans. We hear C calling. Bray fans assemble.
Yeah.
Wrestling Informer saying the Fiend is not coming back. Do you think that he doesn't come back with that character? Or what are you saying there? Uh, yeah, we do need a puppet watch. Jesse Allen saying if he returns on the 9th, that'll be one heck of an early birthday present.
If he returns on the 9th, it'll make me feel a lot better about September.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Deanna's saying, I wonder if Randy took some time off for a family vacation.
Yeah. Didn't he have a family member pass away?
Yeah, I believe so.
That may be why.
And it was right around Mania time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he, I guess they switched stuff up at the last minute, so he ended up not being able to do what he had originally planned. So yeah. Bliss fan saying maybe Miss Bliss hypnotizes Rhea and makes Rhea her minion, and maybe the Fiend abducted Randy.
He thinks he comes back as Bray Wyatt.
Bray Wyatt.
Is that because everybody saw a picture of him with a elongated beard?
That's a good question. I mean, Big Dan's got a comment here. He says, I think he should come back as an evolved version of the Fiend called the Entity, almost along the lines of Carnage from Spider-Man. That would be it.
I mean, there's definitely a possibility that while he's been off, he's been re-evolving things.
Yeah.
That's always a possibility when it comes to Bray Wyatt. You just never know. He could, come back dressed as Tinkerbell. I mean, you just never know. You just never know when it comes to Bray. You don't know what you're going to get.
That's true.
So, I don't know. We just miss him and we want him back on TV.
Yeah.
In whatever capacity that he wants to be back on TV.
Mm-hmm.
I would love for Cult Leader Bray to come back. Or Eater of Worlds Bray. I would totally dig that. I don't know that the longer beard necessarily means anything. He may know ahead of time how long he's going to be off TV and just kind of went, F it, I'm not shaving. Which is highly possible. You're off, you're on vacation or whatever. Like, if you're going to be off for an extended period of time, like, screw it, I'm not shaving. And then, maybe shave it back up right before he comes back on TV.
Yeah.
Could it be a little hint that maybe he's trying to grow it back out to do some Eater of Worlds Bray madness? Yes. And I would love that. That's okay. I'm okay with that too.
Yeah, I absolutely. Tribal Empire 80 says a lot of people on Twitter are thinking the Fiend attacks Jeff Hardy tonight. I mean, we've said for a while we'd love to see him and Jeff Hardy. Do we get Jeff Hardy to tap into, Willow at some point?
I think even Jeff Hardy said that at one point, that he wanted a run with the Fiend.
Yeah.
And I think pretty much everybody that we've talked to that knows Bray personally, we've seen so many stories about everybody wants to work with the Fiend. Everybody wants something with the Fiend. All these different things being pitched about doing stuff with the Fiend. So, that's just a testament to how brilliant he is. And yeah.
Yeah. I know Scott Steiner is asking a question. I know your response, what is going to be. But he asked thoughts on Jim Cornette comments regarding Bray a few months ago.
I think he can go have sex with a porcupine.
Well. There you go. There's no real way to segue from that, so I'm not even going to try.
He is still not one of the people on my list that I would not piss on if they were on fire, though. So. There's
What
really only one person on that list at the moment. Actually, no, there's two. So
what I'll say is, a lot of the folks that are more old school and traditional, especially that were in the business or were major fans of the business before the late 80s and early 90s, they're not into this, into this type of gimmick, and that's fine. It's okay. I think the rub with some people is in how, people that are critical of it, is how they voice their opinion. It's not fact. Let's see here. He said, Cornette said that he would only book Bray to a mental institution if Bray pitched the Fiend idea to him. Well, that's Cornette, and Cornette is a student of the theatrics, and he's a bit of a tool. And I'm being generous by saying a bit of.
as someone who runs a psychiatric hospital, fuck you. Like, whatever.
Simply put, let's see. Oh man, yeah, Azan. We talked about that a little bit earlier. About some of the fan reaction. Joe had a very pointed. He has his opinion about Cornette, and yeah, I think Joe even said this last night. Like who you want to like, listen to whoever you want to listen to. That's on you. But I know a lot of times, people have their things to say, and whether that's to remain relevant or because they're stuck in a decade that we're not currently in. It is what it is. Like I said, people can like whatever they want to like, but the business has evolved. Whether people like it or not, it's going to continue to evolve. And, it is what it is. That's all I got to say about it. Anyway.
Well, again, considering the fact that I run a psychiatric hospital, Jim Cornette just made the list.
Okay. So basically,
they're a very vulnerable population, and that's not something that you joke about. Even I'm gonna shut up, Jodie.
So basically, what you're saying is that he can run bare bottom through a briar patch, backwards.
Yeah,
is what you're saying. Okay. Yeah. Good stuff. All right, so we got a few minutes before we go. So, any final thoughts that you want to share with the group? Any gut feelings that you're getting about a possible return, and any other updates that may or may not be out there?
We miss you. Please come back soon, because we're dying. Raw is dying. It's nice to know that he, like I said, he misses us just as much as we miss him, and that means way more to us than he will ever know. And I hope that we see him sooner rather than later.
I hope so. And well, no, I'm not gonna say this out loud. I'll just type it in the chat, because while I'm trying to be respectful, I don't want Cornette to take over the last few minutes of the show. So I'll respond to a couple of these in the chat. How would you like to see him and Drew? What do you think that would make any sense right now? I mean, I know he.
Honestly, the one that I want the most, and you're gonna be surprised at me for saying this, I want him and Brock.
See, that's yeah. Why does that match intrigue you so much?
I think it was because it was the match we never got. It was the match that was supposed to happen that didn't, because I believe Bray got injured. And I want it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would be a really good way, a good angle on a storyline going after that, the match that never was. The match that was supposed to happen but didn't get to. Like, you could easily work that into a story like, all right, Brock, it's time.
Yeah.
It's time. I've come, it's time to finally finish it. Would also love to see him have a match with Triple H too.
I would love that just from a circular perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I would love that. Let's see here. Thank you, Howls182, for the very generous donation, saying I feel like he will return tonight during Jeff's No More Words. That will be sick. Music plays, it gets all twisted, and it hits him with Sister Abigail.
Yeah, if that does happen, I sincerely hope that I'm on camera, because I know you guys definitely want to see my reaction when the Fiend comes back, and I hope that I don't miss it. So if it's next week, you're going to miss it. So, yeah.
Yeah, Jodie's going to get some much needed R&R, right?
Yes. So I am leaving for North Carolina on Thursday. On Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, the Hubs and I will have 3 days of kid-free vacation on the beach.
See,
so we've decided that these 3 days on the beach, we are going to completely disconnect. No social media, no answering the phones, no looking at phones, just completely turn it all off, except for keeping up with the boys, of course.
Very good.
So those 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I will cease to exist.
Well, you enjoy that time off the grid.
I will.
You deserve it.
My sister is having a baby tomorrow.
That's right. That's exciting. Yeah. So you obviously gonna go down and hold that baby, right?
Yes, I am. That's why we're going down on Thursday. Because COVID restrictions and everything, she's going to be in the hospital. She's having a C-section. So, so yeah, she's really excited. She's, my sister's a nurse too. So nurses are really, really, really horrible patients. So, because we know everything that can go wrong and how it can go wrong and the chances of it going wrong. So it just, she's very anxious. She has a metal rod in her back because she had scoliosis when she was younger. So she's not totally sure if they're going to be able to do a spinal on her. They're going to try. But if they're not successful, she has to go under general anesthesia. So she's freaking out a little bit, but my sister's a rock star and she'll be just fine. And no matter which way little Merrick is born into the world, he'll still be beautiful. And I'm really excited. I'm super, super proud of her. She's a rock star.
There you go. Well,
so happy birthday to my new nephew, Merrick, and to good friend, Mr. Meta 5. It's his birthday tomorrow as well. So
happy birthday to all these folks. So that's it, folks. I was gonna do the Porky Pig. That's all, folks, but not tonight. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Abby's Window If you have not done so already, please drop a like on this video. And if you are new to the channel, we would love it if you would subscribe. Don't forget, 7:30, we are going to be back for our Raw watch along. Say that 5 times fast. And we will be here ready to rock, seeing what we get tonight. In the way of surprises, will we get big debuts? We shall see. Yeah, thank you all. Much love and peace. And we will see you again at 7:30. Take care.